Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to make a faux beam to be mounted on the ceiling. It's kind of a mock-up here. I used 1x10 pine, put a miter on it so you could hide the seam. Once you put it all together and you take like a screwdriver and run it across here, it all fills in nicely like it's one solid piece. This one's going to be 8 feet long. Going to use 3 1x10s, which are actually 9 1/4. So it'll hang down 9 1/4 and go across, be about 9 1/4 deep, and obviously 9 1/4 on the other side. It's going in an area to divide a hallway and a kitchen that's all open, so we have definitive spaces. The good thing is, what I'll do is it'll be 8 feet long. The opening's not 8 feet, so I'll cut it to size on site. And what we're going to do is I made these faux copper brackets with rivets that I'll show you how to make later on. It'll cover the ends, so if there's any gap, so we don't mar up the walls mounting it to the ceiling, we'll cover that gap there. So there'll be one of these that'll be basically U-shaped, that'll run on the bottom and on the other side, and then we'll have one in the middle that does the same thing, and one on the end. So it'll be a total of 3 basically horseshoes that'll go around it. This is made out of 1/4-inch PVC using wood screw covers to make it look like rivets. And it's kind of a fantasy finish because copper really doesn't have this much texture to it. But that's part of one of the cool things about it is it doesn't have to be 100% real. Plus this is going to be 10 feet off the ceiling, so you'll be looking up at it. So it's got a copper and a bronze finish with a green verdigris over it to make it look like it's weathered. So once we get the beam built, you distress it, fill it in a little bit on that edge. I use a hammer and chains to distress it. Put some stain on it and some poly, and then we'll make the brackets. Okay, so I went ahead and mitered the 1x10s. This is the bottom piece. As you can see, it's got the 2 bevels on it, 2 45 degrees. Here's one of the sides. It's got the single bevel on it. What I'm going to do is put some 1x on the inside here in order to catch, give more space for it to catch to and to glue to keep it nice and firm. So what I'll do is just put some 1x on the bottom part and then start attaching the sides. Alright, so the horseshoe or the box is built. I got some temporary braces on the top just to keep it together until the glue dries. Get some brads and nails to put it together. Did that 3/4 to hold it, give a little something more to nail into. It's not perfect, but it's not meant to be perfect either. You can see there's a little bit more of a gap than normally. It kind of wobbled on me a little bit, but all we do for the most part is take something like a screwdriver or a drill barrel, and you can mend that up. It'll push that together and make it look like it's a solid beam. This is going to be distressed, so I'm not particularly worried. Plus there's going to be a dark stain going on it, so you'll never ever see it. This is number 2 pine because it's meant to look rustic, like a big beam. But it's fairly simple carpentry. So we'll work on closing up some of those seams a little bit better. So here's the beam. It's all stained up. Got the coat of polyurethane on it, satin. I don't want it to be too shiny. I just want it to accentuate the grain of the wood, and I think it's done that pretty well. Plus, it's going to be up on the ceiling, so you won't see as much of that shine up there, but it feels fairly flat. I'm not going to bother to put second coat on it. Doesn't need it for what it is. Okay, you see some of the distress marks there. I use a chain and hammer and things like that just to mar it up some. This is the bottom of the beam, what you'll see from the floor. You can see the seams closed up really well, so it looks like one solid beam. Getting ready to make the faux copper brackets. See, it's 1/4 inch PVC. You can see the holes for the wood mushroom screw covers that look like rivets once we're all done. So this is sort of what we're going for here. So I need to make 3 total straps, 1 for each end and 1 in the middle, which actually means I need 9 pieces that are miter. The bottom one has 2 miters, and the sides have the 1 miter, so everything meets up nicely. And then we'll put them on site and just touch them up with some of the copper finish. Get ready to get started on that. Alright, so here are the beginnings of the faux copper straps. Got them all labeled. You'd think they'd all be the exact same size because they're going to be in 3 different areas, but the way the wood is some are just a fraction bigger or smaller. So they have to be measured in each area. As you can see, it takes 3, just like we talked about. This one's got 2 bevels on it, which is the bottom. This is going to face the floor, and the sides. So we're getting ready to make lines of demarcation on all the way around, and we'll put 3 rivets in the center of each. All the wood, it's the same top to bottom as it is side to side. So we'll just put 3 right in the middle, and then we'll start to put the finish on it. So the finish starts off being just some caulk that's dabbed on it to bring up the texture. Let that dry a little bit, prime it, and then start. Actually, we'll put the rivets in first, then put the caulk on it to establish some texture, and then we'll start putting the finish on top of it. So let's go from there. All right, so got 2 of them done here using, you can see that, the 1/2 inch mushroom style screw covers made out of wood. Just centered everything up side to side and top to bottom. Like I said, these are 1/2 inch. I use 3/8 so pressure fit them in. Kind of bevels it and it keeps it in tight. That way I won't have to use any adhesive to hold it. And if you use a 1/2 inch, it'll fit, of course, but then you have to use adhesive to hold it in there. And if you don't have to, why should you? You can see with this 1/4 inch, I had to go all the way through, but it does have a bevel that's holding it in tight. So got a few more to go. Here is the ceiling track that the beam will be mounted to. This is where we make the ceiling. You see the slight bevel there just to help get the beam into place, and extra 3/4 will help to give us a little bit more area to screw to. Now I have anchors and I have screws, so hopefully I'll be able to hit some structure with this. It's going to be just under 8 inches wide. But if I don't have an area where there is some truss to hit, I'm going to have to anchor the whole thing. So I got some 1/4 inch by 4 inch anchors, I think, butterfly anchors, to hold this onto the ceiling, and then we'll use these trim head screws to mount the beam to the track. You see it's got the thread up towards the top that I really like. It really helps bite. So if you can imagine, it'll go through the beam and into this and probably hit one of the ceiling too. The track is on the ceiling. It's 3/4 inch plywood, and then there's an 1.5 inch wide piece of plywood applied to each side, so you have more to screw to. On the edges there is another piece of 3/4 inch plywood with a small piece of 2x4, so you can screw up from the bottom, and there'll be plenty of area to screw from the side, at the ceiling and the side of the beam. Okay, the beam is up. It's got several screws. We're coming up from the bottom with some long screws on the ends, tapping into those pieces of 2x4. Those are going to be covered up by the faux copper straps, which will be on both sides and one in the middle. And then there's several trim head screws running across the top, which you can't even see. They blend right into the stain. So next step is we'll start putting in those straps. Here is the beam installed with the 3 faux weathered copper brackets with rivets.